Hey guys, I said I'd do another video, read some of the book for you, so I know it's what you asked. I'm going to read the vampire bit from Midnight Sun in the car. I'm going to try and get some uh, of Emmett's jokes in. I'm going to read my favourite bit, which is in New Moon, and something else. The scene from Breaking Dawn where Bella goes into the water to see Edward with the moon. Alright, so here goes. Um, I'll start Midnight Sun. Jacob Black, Ephraim Black, a descendant, no doubt. It was as bad as it could get. She knew the truth. My mind was flying through the ramifications as the cars flew around the dark curves in the road, my body rigid with anguish, motionless except for the small automatic actions it took to steer the car. She knew the truth. But if she'd learned the truth Saturday, then she'd known it all evening long. And yet, we went for a walk, she went on, and he was telling me about some old legends, trying to scare me, I think. He told me one. She stopped short, but there was no need for her qualms now. I knew what she was going to say. The only mystery left was why she was still here with me now. Go on, I said. About vampires, she breathed, the words less than a whisper. Somehow it was even worse than knowing that she knew. Hearing her speak the words aloud. I flinched at the sound of it, and then controlled myself again. And you immediately thought of me, I asked. No, he mentioned your family. How ironic that it would be Ephraim's own progeny that would violate the treaty he vowed to uphold. A grandson, or great-grandson perhaps. How many years has it been? 70? I should have realised that it was not the old men who believed in the legends that would be the danger. Of course, the younger generation, those who would have been warned, but would have thought the ancient superstitions laughable. Of course, that was where the dangers of exposure would lie. I suppose this meant that I was now free to sort a small defenceless tribe on the coastline where I was so inclined. Ephraim and his pack of protectors were long dead. He just thought it was a silly superstition, Taylor said suddenly, the voice edged with a new anxiety. He didn't expect me to think any of it. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her twist her hands uneasily. It was my fault, she said after a brief pause, and then she hung her head as if she were ashamed. I forced him to tell me. Why? It wasn't so hard to keep my voice lower now. The worst was already done. As long as we spoke of the details of the revelation, we didn't have to move on to the consequences of it. Lauren said something about you. She was trying to provoke me. She made a little face at the memory. I was slightly distracted, wondering how Bella would be provoked by someone talking about me. And an older boy said from the tribe your family didn't come to the reservation. Only it sounded like he meant something different, so I got Jack alone and tricked it out of him. Her head dropped even lower as she muttered this, and her expression looked guilty. I looked away from her and laughed out loud. She felt guilty? What could she possibly have done to deserve censure of any kind? Tricked him how, I asked. I tried to flirt. It worked better than I thought it would, she explained, and her voice turned incredulous at the memory of that success. I could just imagine, considering the attraction she seemed to have for all things male, totally unconscious on her part, how overwhelming she would be when she tried to be attractive. I was suddenly full of pity for the unsuspecting boy she'd unleashed such a potent force on. I'd like to have seen that, I said, and then I laughed again with a black humour. I wished I could have heard the boy's reaction, witnessed the devastation for myself. And you accused me of dazzling people? Poor Jacob Black. I wasn't as angry with the source of my exposure as I would have expected to feel. He didn't know better. And how could I expect anyone to deny this girl what she wanted? No. I only felt sympathy for the damage she would have done to his peace of mind. I felt her blush, heat the air between us. I glanced at her, and she was staring out her window. She didn't speak again. What did you do then? I prompted. Time to get back to the horror story. I did some research on the internet. Ever practical. And did that convince you? No, she said. Nothing fit. Most of it was kind of silly, and then she broke off again, and I heard her teeth lock together. What? I demanded. What had she found? What had made the sense of the nightmare for her? There was a short pause, and then she whispered. I decided it didn't matter. Shock froze my thoughts for half a second, and then it all fit together. Why she'd sent her friends away tonight rather than escape them. Why she'd gotten into a car with me instead of running, screaming for the police. Her reactions were always wrong. Always completely wrong. She pulled danger toward herself. She invited it. It didn't matter, I said through my teeth, anger filling me. How was I supposed to protect someone so determined to be unprotected? No, she said in a low voice. That's inexplicably tender. It doesn't matter to me what you are. She was impossible. You didn't care if I'm a monster? If I'm not human? No. I started to wonder if she was entirely stable. I suppose I could arrange for her to receive the best care available. Carla would have the connections to find her the most skilled doctors, the most talented therapists. Perhaps something could be done to fix whatever it was that was wrong with her. Whatever it was that made her content to sit beside a vampire with her heart beating calmly and steadily. I would watch over the facility, naturally, and visit as often as I was allowed. You're angry, she sighed. I shouldn't have said anything. As if her hiding these disturbing tendencies would help either of us. No, I'd rather know what you're thinking, even if what you're thinking is insane. So I'm wrong again, she asked, a bit belligerent now. That's not what I was referring to. Our teeth clenched together again. It doesn't matter, I repeated in a scathing tone. She gasped. I'm right? Does it matter, I countered? She took a deep breath. I waited angrily for answer. Not really, she said, her voice composed again. But I am curious. Okay, guys, there's a bit from Midnight Sun. Sorry it takes me forever to read it. I'm a little bit of a slow reader. I'll go for New Moon next. This is my favourite bit. It's only a page and a half. When I was starting to get dizzy, he pulled away, and she laid his ear against my heart. I lay there, dazed, waiting for my gasping to slow and quiet. By the way, he said in a casual tone, I'm not leaving you. I didn't say anything, and he seemed to hear skepticism in my silence. He lifted his face to look my gaze in his. I'm not going anywhere, not without you, he added more seriously. I only left you here in the first place because I wanted you to have a chance at a normal, happy human life. I could see what I was doing to you, keeping you constantly at the edge of danger, taking you away from the world you belonged in, risking your life every moment I was with you. So I had to try. I had to do something, and it seemed like leaving was the only way. If I hadn't thought you'd be better off, I could have never made myself leave. I'm much too selfish. Only you could be more important than what I wanted, what I needed. What I want and need is to be with you, and I know I'll never be strong enough to leave again. I have too many excuses to stay. Thank heaven for that. It seems you can't be safe, no matter how many miles I put between us. Don't promise me anything, I whispered. If I let myself hope, and it came to nothing, that would kill me. Where all those merciless vampires had not been able to finish me off, hope would do the job. Anger glinted metallic in his black eyes. You think I'm lying to you now? No, I'm not lying. I shook my head, trying to think it through coherently. To examine the hypothesis that he did love me, while staying objective, clinical, so I wouldn't fall into the trap of hoping. You could mean it now, but what about tomorrow, when you think about all the reasons you left in the first place, or next month, when Jaffa takes a snap at me? He flinched. I thought back over those last days of my life before he left me. Tried to see them through the filter of what he was telling me now. From that perspective, imagining that he'd left me while loving me, left me for me, his brooding, cold silences took on a different meaning. It isn't as if you hadn't thought the first decision through, is it, I guess? You'll end up doing what you think is right. I'm not as strong as you give me credit for, he said. Right and wrong has ceased to mean much to me. I was coming back anyway, before Rosalie told me the news. I was already past trying to live through 1 week at a time, or even 1 day. I was fighting to make it through a single hour. It's only a matter of time, and not much of it, before I showed up your window and begged you to take me back. Alright guys, that's my favourite bit, personally. I got a little bit of Breaking Dawn. I'll try not to bore you too much longer. Remember guys, you asked for it. Alright, now let me just quickly find the pages. So I'm so cool, I have to prepare for this stuff. Okay, here we go. Bit of where Bella walks into the water with Edward. I couldn't hear the sound of my footsteps as I walked into the water's edge, but I guess that he could. Edward did not turn. I let the gentle swells break over my toes, and found that he'd be right about the temperature, which was very warm, like bath water. I stepped in, walking carefully across the invisible ocean floor, but my care was unnecessary. The sand continued, perfectly smooth, sloping gently toward Edward. I waded through the weightless current till I was at his side, and then I placed my hand lightly over his full hand lying on the water. Beautiful, I said, looking up at the moon, too. It's all right, he answered, unimpressed. He turned, slowly faced me. Little waves rolled away from his movement and broke against my skin. His eyes looked silvered in his ice-coloured face. He twisted his hand up so that he could twine our fingers beneath the surface of the water. It was warm enough that his cool skin did not raise goosebumps on mine, but I wouldn't use the word beautiful, he continued. Not with you standing here in comparison. Okay, there you go, we've got a bit of Breaking Dawn going now. And then I was asked to do a few of Emmett's jokes. Give me 1 second, let me find them in the book. I'll start where it's talking to Renesmee. We'll get your room set up right away, I said to Renesmee. You'll love the cottage. It's magic. I looked up at Esme. Thank you, Esme, so much. Absolutely perfect. Before Esme could respond, Emmett was laughing again. It wasn't silent this time. So it's still standing? You managed to get out between the Snickers? I would have thought you two had knocked it to rubble by now. What were you doing last night? Discussing the national debt? He mahowed with laughter. I gritted my teeth and reminded myself of the negative consequences when I'd let my temper get away from me yesterday. Of course, Emmett wasn't as breakable as Seth. Thinking of Seth made me wonder, where are the wolves today? I glanced out the window wall, but there had been no sign of Leah on the way in. Jacob took off this morning pretty early, Rosie told me, a little frown kissing her forehead. Seth followed him out. What was he so upset about? Edward asked as he came back into the room Renesmee's cut. There must have been more in Rosie's memory than I'd seen in her expression. Without breathing, I handed Renesmee off to Rosalie. Super self-control, maybe. There was no way I was going to be able to feed her. Not yet. I don't know or care, Rosalie grumbled. But she answered Edward's question more fully. He was watching Nessie sleep, his mouth hanging open like the moron he is, and then he just jumped to his feet without any kind of trigger that I noticed anyway, and stormed out. I was glad to be rid of him. The more time he spends here, the less chance there is that we'll ever get the smell out. Rose, as my chided generally. Rosalie flipped her hair. I suppose it doesn't matter. We won't be here that much longer. I still say we go straight up to New Hampshire and get things set up, Emmett said, obviously continuing earlier conversation. Bella's already registered at Dartmouth. Doesn't like it will take her long to be able to handle school. He turned to look at me with a teasing grin. I'm sure you'll ace your classes. Apparently there's nothing interesting for you to do at night besides study. Rosalie giggled. Do not lose your temper, do not lose your temper, I chanted to myself. I was proud of myself for keeping my head. There you go. I've read some book now for you, guys. I hope you enjoyed my really, really boring reading. And yeah, this is my latest video, and now I'm signing off. Bye guys.